Hello there, very good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News on TV1. On behalf of the Newsfirst, the voice of the people, I'm Martin Satyanesan. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for this afternoon.
Janata Vimukthi filed 3 fundamental rights applications in the Supreme Court challenging the arrest of protesters using the quarantine law.
සෞඛ්‍ය නීති රීති අනුව අපි උද්ඝෝෂණ ව්‍යාපාරයේ දිගටම අපි ගෙනියනවා.
Views expressed by the ruling and the opposition members over protests.
සිය මින් ඉදිරියටත් රැස්වීම් සහ උද්ඝෝෂණ අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම අපි නවත්තනවා එය අත්අඩංගුවට ගන්නවා. ඔබතුමා ගන්නම අපි කරනවා.
Gazette issued yesterday, revised today. Several subjects at the Ministry of Finance moved over to the Ministry of Economic Policy.
Now those stories in detail. The Samagijana Balavagia has filed 3 fundamental rights applications with the Supreme Court challenging the arrest of protesters using the quarantine law. These applications were submitted seeking a Supreme Court determination stating that the arrest of protesters by Sri Lanka police using the quarantine law violates fundamental rights of the citizens. The applications were submitted by the General Secretary of the SJB Ranjit Madhuma Bandara, Parliamentarian Harshana Rajakaruna and Mayantha Disanayaka.
The Inspector General of Police, the Director General of Health Services, the Health Minister and the Attorney General were named as respondents in the applications. The petitioners claim that the arrest of people who protest in a peaceful manner using the quarantine law and directing them to quarantine violates the people's right to speech and expression enshrined in the Constitution. The applications call for the Supreme Court to summon the respondents to court and commence an examination.
රජයේ බැලුවේ මේ උද්ඝෝෂණ කොහොමද?
The government was seeking a way to suppress these protests. Using COVID as a cover, the government is issuing circulars to suppress the people's right to speech and expression enshrined in the Constitution. The police are acting arbitrarily against the circular issued by the Director General of Health Services. Today, the police are stating that they have the power to arrest people and direct these protesters for quarantine. Yesterday, police have directed trade union activists in the educational sector and social activists who raised their voices concerning the issues faced by the farming community into mandatory quarantine. This is against the law. The judiciary of this country has always been just. We expect the same for this issue as well. We will continue our protests adhering to health regulations.
උද්ඝෝෂණ ව්‍යාපාරයේ දිගටම අපි ගෙනියනවා.
ආණ්ඩුව ගමන් කරන ආකාරයට ඊළඟ
Looking at how this government is conducting itself now, we have serious concerns as to whether they will hold elections in the future. The Rajapaksa family and the government are trying to create a state that is run by the police. We will stand against these moves.
අපි නැගිටිනවා කියන එක මේ අවස්ථාවේදී ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා.
පොලිසිය ඉන්නේ ආණ්ඩුව ආරක්ෂා කරන්න නෙමේ.
The police department is established to protect the citizens and the constitution of this country and not to protect the government. We would like to remind the police not to blindly follow the government, but to protect the citizens of the country and to uphold the articles mentioned in the constitution of this country. We saw how the One Country, One Law slogan was followed yesterday. People who celebrated the appointment of Basil Rajapaksa were treated differently, while people who stood against the government were treated with a different law.
ජනතාවට එක නීතියක් ආණ්ඩුවට විරුද්ධව විරෝධතාවය ප්‍රකාශ කරපු අයට තව නීතියක්.
Galloya Lift Bank Farmers Committee met at the residential project building in Ampara yesterday.
During the meeting, farmers questioned the officials on organic fertilizer. The farmers informed the difficulties in producing organic fertilizer.
We have to manufacture fertilizer for 4 acres. How much compost is needed for 1 acre? How are we going to manufacture that amount?
If anyone is manufacturing organic fertilizer, he will receive 12,500 rupees per hectare, 5,000 per acre from the government. Furthermore, if they are purchasing organic fertilizer from the government, that will be given free of charge. Meanwhile, the paddy and vegetable farmers in Seruvilla say that they are facing a serious risk of their crops being destroyed because of the lack of fertilizer. The farmers say that political decisions that are taken without a proper understanding of the ground situation has led to their crops being destroyed. The All Island General Fishing Federation staged a protest in Tangol yesterday. The protesters staged opposing the increase in the fuel prices.
ජීවන ප්‍රජාව කබලේ ලිපට වැටලා
The fishing community has fallen from the frying pan into the fire. We would like to kindly request the government to bring down fuel prices immediately. We will continue to step out onto the streets with our fellow countrymen if this does not end. The government must take prompt action to provide relief to the community and peg down the prices of fuel.
A protest organized by the Janata Vimukthi Peramuna opposing the government was held in Badalkumbura in Monaragala yesterday.
The protest was organized opposing the privatization of free education, militarizing education and the Kotalavala bill. Even though arrests are made, free education in this country is something the commoner, the students and the teachers fought for since back then. We came to Vellavaya to say that we will not let free education be destroyed.
1,223 COVID-19 patients were identified yesterday, bringing the country's total caseload to 269,899. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health stated that 78 COVID-19 patients are receiving treatment at intensive care units. 1,453 recoveries were reported yesterday, bringing the total number of recoveries in the island to 239,584. The Ministry of Health further said that 3,391 COVID-19 related deaths have been reported as of now. Meanwhile, the National Operations Center for Prevention of COVID-19 outbreak has decided to inoculate the remaining doses of the Pfizer vaccine to the students who were expecting to travel for higher studies abroad. The inoculation program will take place at the Army Hospital. Army Commander General Shavendra Silva said the naval community in Mana are also expected to receive the vaccine.
Pfizer ඉදිරි එන්නත් මේ වන විට අපි විදේශ රටවල් වල විශ්වවිද්‍යාල බලාපොරොත්තු
The remaining doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine will be administered to students who are planning to travel overseas for higher studies. Since certain countries require students to be vaccinated with the Pfizer vaccine, steps have been taken to administer the jab at the Army Hospital for selected students who are planning to travel to such countries. The remaining doses of the Pfizer jab will be administered to fishermen in Mana since they travel to the boundaries of India for fishing activities.
ඉන්දියාව ප්‍රදේශයේ මොහොදු තීරයේ ගමන් කරන බැවින් ඔවුන්ට මේ Pfizer එක ලබා දීමට තමයි දැන් තීරණය කළ තිබෙන්නේ.
Meanwhile, the vaccination drive to administer the Sinopharm vaccines for people above the age of 30 continued for the fourth day today. The inoculation program, which commenced at 8 a.m. today at the Diatowena in Batramulla, is expected to continue until 4 p.m. today. The inoculation program was organized by the Sri Lanka Army. Under the COVAX program from the World Health Organization, a stock of medical equipment and vaccines arrived in the island from Denmark this morning. The UN delegation has handed over these items containing 10 Covishield injection packs and syringes to the Ministry of Health.
The Kakulandara Pimura section of the Agalawatha Police Division in the Kalutara district has been isolated from 6 this morning. Army Commander General Shavendra Silva said that isolation in several other areas had been lifted since this morning. Meanwhile, views were expressed by opposition members over the arrest of people who protest in the streets using the quarantine law.
Trade union leader Joseph Stalin is a person who is known to the European Union. This issue will draw attention of the ILO. This is not legal. I would like to ask from the Minister of Finance to discuss this matter with the trade unions and appoint a committee over the actions of the police, because all the work you have done here will get washed away.
We will be tabling that report. In fact, we had thought that we could have a debate this month, but definitely we can have a debate early next month. Joseph Stalin, Honorable Minister, is here. Honorable Minister, as trade unionists, I have been meeting a lot of trade unionists in relation to the GSP+.
වැඩවර්ජන සහ රැස්වීම් පවත්වන එක තහනම් කරලා තියෙන්නේ දේශපාලක.
Protests and organizing gatherings are prohibited by not the politicians. It is the Director General of Health Services. He is the one who has provided clear directions to the IGP. Because of the spread of the disease, the protests and meetings should be stopped. So under the quarantine law, he can give that order. As a result, the police did their job. No matter what grade they are, if someone engages in a protest or organize a meeting, we will arrest them and produce them before the court.
අපි අත්අඩංගුවට අරගෙන උසාවියට ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා.
රැස් වෙන්න මූලික අයිතිවාසිකමක් තියෙනවා. අනික
There is a fundamental right to gather. On the other hand, no one can send people to Mullatif by force under the quarantine law. The quarantine law should be implemented by considering the fundamental rights of the people. A PCR test has not been carried out on them.
මේගොල්ලෝ PCR ටෙස්ට් එකක් කළා නැහැ. මේකයි තියෙන්නේ.
එතකොට නිසි බලධාරියාට පමණයි මේ රෙගුලාසි ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්නට පුළුවන්. මේ සියල්ලක්ම ක්‍රියාත්මක
Only the correct officers can implement these regulations. The correct authority is not the police, it is the Director General of Health Services. Honorable Speaker, with regard to the incident that happened yesterday, the judiciary released them on bail. Thereafter, without conducting a PCR or an antigen test, without the involvement of any PHI officer, the police breached the fundamental rights of the people in the Constitution. The police have taken the responsibility of the Director General of Health and the PHIs. There is no law in this country.
කොහොමද මේ රටේ අවනීතියක් නේ තියෙන්නේ. මේ රටේ කැලෑ නීතියක් නේ තියෙන්නේ. මේ රටේ නීතියක් නැහැනේ.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has issued an extraordinary gazette amending the ministerial portfolios of several ministries. According to the new gazette notification, the Buddhist Revival Fund, the Buddha Sasana Fund and the Central Cultural Fund, which were under the purview of the Ministry of Finance, have been placed under the Ministry of Economic Policy and Plan Implementation, established yesterday. State Minister Sisira Jayakodi stated that he will work in collaboration with the newly appointed Minister Basil Rajapaksa on economic management. He expressed his views to the media following the opening ceremony of a new COVID-19 treatment centre at the Kurunagala Ayurvedic Hospital yesterday.
These are trying times. There's a shortage of foreign reserves. That is the truth. However, the government is managing affairs well. We believe that Basil Rajapaksa will provide guidance to that process.
Locals allege that lands belonging to the Rantabalagama Reserve in Parambathutta Adigama, located in the Putlam district, are being taken over.
Farmers accuse a group of individuals, including a state official in the area, of conspiring to take over the lands in the Ratambala Oya Reserve. They also allege that trees are being cut down and traps are being set for animals. When our reporters visited the location yesterday, based on a tip-off that an officer was laying a barbed wire in the reserve, the individual had fled the location. Residents say they're using various means to cut down trees in the reserve. The Parliament Divisional Secretariat said he had issued instructions to put an end to the land grab and that further investigations would be carried out regarding the matter.
The Meteorological Department states that heavy showers exceeding 100 millimeters will occur in the western Sabaragamuwa provinces and in some places in the Kandy, Nuwara Eliya, Galle and Mathura districts. The department further said wind speeds could increase across the island as well.
Strong winds of about 65 kilometers per hour from the Central Highlands and 50 kilometers per hour from the North, North Central and Northwestern provinces and Hambantota and Trincomalee districts are expected. Heavy showers are expected in areas across Puttlam, Colombo and Galle.
UEFA has charged England after a laser pointer was directed at Denmark goalkeeper during Wednesday's Euro 2020 semi-final at Wembley.
Television pictures showed a green light on Schmeichel's face just before Harry Kane took an extra time penalty. Schmeichel saved the spot kick, but Kane scored the rebound as England won 2-1 to reach Sunday's final against Italy. England are also charged with causing a disturbance during Denmark's national anthem and setting off fireworks.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of Lunchtime News on TV1. For details of these stories and much more, simply log on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. For the News First, the voice of the people, I am Martin Satyanesan. You take care and stay safe.